Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, dive into the TA. All right, guys, so we did gap down. We had a decent gap down this morning, and that got bought up. We came into yesterday's daily range, and then we actually took out the highs of yesterday's daily range. And now, as we can see, we are gapping up over here on QQ 1% in the after hours. As we speak, we have Microsoft earnings right after the close today. So those have came out, and the market is liking what they're seeing. Just realize if you open where you are over here, this weekly candle is going to extend all the way up here. And then you also had Meta earnings after the close. And as we can also see, the market is liking what they're seeing. That is also up around 5%, so 5 to 6% on both of those. And by the time it opens, all right, you're coming right into where you broke down from on Meta at 580. If you open right where you are right now, I would initially expect rejection from this area, so keep that in mind. I don't think it's a good idea to be chasing this long over here, all right? But, you know, we're going to come back over here to QQQ. We're going to go over some levels, and we're going to talk about some things. We got the monthly close today. I'll, give you guys some trade ideas at the end of it. All right, but as far as upside on QQQ goes, above 479.56, we are watching 485.84. Above there, we are going to have the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement from that whole move down. That is sitting right at 488. And slightly above there, you have the 200 daily moving average sitting at 479. Not 479, 491. And right above there, you have 493.62 resistance. All right, so I'm just going to mark this out. This is the area we are expecting rejection from, in between 493.62 and 485.84. Do not be chasing longs into this area. I gave you plenty of time to be taking those longs. All right, and we did end up pulling back. We were thinking if we got the pullback to start the week, we're going to be probably just printing that lower wick here on the weekly candle. And it does look like that is how we are going to be moving from here. All right, so on the upside, just be watching for reaction between 485.84 and 493.62. We could come a little bit higher, up to 499.70, and that is where price broke down from. But I have to assume after all of this time, you're probably going to get rejection here at the 200 daily moving average. So in my personal opinion, it is a much better idea to take profit on longs, all right, on your gap up tomorrow. Keep taking profit into this, and maybe consider completely scaling out, going cash, and maybe even putting on a short position. And then you're going to be coming back down, targeting 480 to 470. All right, and that, if you're putting it on picture perfect, you get your, take your final entry off the 200 DMA here. All right, but maybe you're starting here at 485. Even if you're catching that, all right, that is still going to be, you catching a $5 to $10 move down. But ideally, we're going to test that 200 daily moving average here, and then you could play this short right here. All right, on the downside, we're watching 479.56, 476.18, 472.91, and then 469.59. The second we got above 469.59 today, we knew it was likely that we were going to continue pushing. The second we filled this, at that point, you have a really, really nice look over here. And then what actually gave it away is you printed this 4-hour lower wick here. All right, so that was right around noon. And that is what really gave it away and said, hey, all right, expect this dip. If it happens, expect the dip to be bought. We did end up getting that earlier on in the day. Right over here, we got that dip. It looks like that was all she wrote, because then, all right, you launched above there, rejected 472.91. Based out above your previous base over here. And then, as we could see, you exploded in the after hours. This is looking pretty juicy here. Well, you exploded into the end of the day, and now continuing that explosion in the after hours. Pretty juicy. I'm just going to say the monthly candle did close out, as this dragonfly doji / hammer candlestick, pin bar candlestick. Doesn't matter what you want to call it. It does show that buyers are retaking control. It is a reversal, bullish reversal candlestick. That is that. All right. So, take this information however way you want to, digest it however way you want to. But I will just go back here. So this is on QQQ, and I'm going to point out here. All right, right over here, you had 3 wicks. All right, we can come down and take out this low. I think it's just going to be bought back up. And then you have a scenario like over here where you have 2 back-to-back wicks like that. All right, but they closed out the monthly candle strong. We have a lot of these monthly candles at this point. They look absolutely freaking phenomenal. And you got Hood over here. Guess what, guys? Hood, it has earnings right now. It didn't make a move off of earnings, which means tomorrow premiums get crushed. Look at this weekly chart. Look at this monthly chart. Probabilities are this thing is going to go a little bit higher here. You can play that with crushed premiums tomorrow because you didn't FOMO in before earnings. Okay. But come back over here. I was just using Hood as an example here. You got a lot of these bullish looking monthly candles here after, retesting some very key areas. PLTR looks absolutely phenomenal. All right. If Microsoft just wanted to wait one more day here, it would also be looking absolutely phenomenal. But at the end of the day, you have a strong looking monthly candle there. You are going to have a very large gap here on the monthly time frame. This is probably going to get filled. All right. So I want everyone to keep this in mind. All right. This is probably getting filled in the short term. That is a short. All right. So I want to tell you guys, we're going a little bit higher, but just understand you cannot be chasing these things. That is a monthly massive gap being left open. It's probably going to be filled over the next 1 to 2 weeks. All right. That means that's confirming us looking for a move up into this area around the 200 DMAs, around these weekly 21 EMAs. We're just expecting them to be tested. All right. Very big spot up here, but we're also definitely expecting the rejection here. It's a big spot. Well, guess what? Microsoft now has a massive gap. Meta now has a massive gap. These are likely to be filled. So if you want short ideas, I'm here for it. You're right here on the weekly time frame coming into the 21 EMA on Meta. You're also coming into the same exact 580 level that you broke down from. You also have a massive monthly gap just now kind of sitting there. It's actually not massive over here on Meta. It doesn't look out of place on Meta, but if you can just direct your attention to Microsoft, you definitely have a massive gap here now. If you just look back on the monthly chart, do you see any gaps? Do you see any gaps? I do not. I don't see a single one. So is this going to be the first of its kind? Is Microsoft going to hit it with the breakaway gap, the first of its kind? Or is it going to do what's more probable and come back to fill it? I think it's probably going to fill it. Okay? This monthly candle literally starts tomorrow. And yeah, that's absolutely just horrendous looking. So I need everybody just to keep this in mind. People like to look at your boy over here as a perma bull. Guys, I've been freaking killing in this market. I don't care long or short. All right. If you want help killing in this market, if you want to make some money, all right, I will be live trading every single morning. All right. Link is down below. But real talk, if you have not been killing it, all right, we have been doing phenomenal in this market. And there is a way that you can too. Yeah, people think I'm a perma bull. I'm not a perma bull. Okay. If market's going to be, moving back, I'm going to take advantage of that. And I'm going to call it like I see it. And that's why, even when we had this dip this morning, well, guess what? I told you guys, and I'm thinking the same exact thing. I'm like, it would make so much more sense to see this thing get bought up. You also know if you were to close out down where it was this morning, the monthly candle just looks significantly more ugly. All right. And people are going to, say there's a massive crash coming. It can happen. We can have another, very bad looking leg over here. But I think it's probably just going to come over here and produce another lower wick. Or it gets bought up around here and looks something like that, where, you do have the next lower wick and then you close out at the highs. But it's not going to go and take out the low. We have a very clean break and retest over here on QQ. Don't mind this, all right? But very clean break and retest. Almost had a 50% retracement of the whole rally, multi-year rally. Heavy monthly volume here, okay? Bullish candlestick. Go back and find me a scenario where you had one of those green, long lower wick, hammer, pin bar, dragonfly doji, whatever you want to call these things. They're bullish candlesticks with the large lower wick showing that, you had momentum to the downside, and somewhere in that month, buyers decided to flip a switch and they decided to reverse it. They decided hey, we're going to start taking back control, and they closed it out strong. It's something like that. Guys, we're back at .com. Okay, this is like the QQQ. This is where QQQ, literally started. So let's take it over to the actual NASDAQ. Well, let's keep going. Like, just look at these. A lot of these, you will be going higher that following month. All right, like, but we still don't have, like, this is a crazy lower wick. We just go find a candlestick that looks like this. It normally results in you moving up. I know there's this, but you also had 3 massive lower wicks before that. All right, this one, guys, what do you got? It's a 15% wick. You want to see over on NQ? What are we looking at? It's a 17.6% wick. All right, so I'm just saying, over here on COVID, you had a 17% wick. You had a small pullback the next month, and you didn't look back. Over here, you had a 11% wick. You did not make a new low, but you pulled back, and then you were off to a new all-time high. You got faded over here in 08. Right here, you had a 17% lower wick, but it does not. Does that look like the monthly candle we have right now? No, it does not. All right. But then what happened? You did take out the lows, and what do you have? Another large lower wick. All right, 16% on that one. All right, and aside from that, we have these over here. Right here, you had this one, 15%. Right here, you had that one, 10%. And I think that one was 17%. You went lower or higher the following month, and then you rolled over. All right, so regardless, guys, just kind of be open to not immediately coming back down to the lows. And if we do get the scenario where we come back to the lows, we know to buy that. Okay, real talk. We are looking for the rejection here. Let's come back over here to SPY. We are looking for the rejection from this area, 0.618 fib, 21 EMA here in the weekly time frame, 200 daily moving average. This is also kind of where you broke down from. Very key resistance here. If we stall out in the exact spot we were looking for after we printed this freaking monster candlestick, all right, if we stall in the exact spot, and we do happen to come down aggressively to these lows over the next, 2 to 4 weeks, somehow we do another one of these, this thing is going to probably just produce a nice, another nice long lower wick. So you're a buyer down here. Well, you don't have to be, but I'll be a buyer. I will be an advocate here for you guys to be buyers on the channel, because I don't think it's a good idea to be selling over there. Just like over here, I didn't think it was a good idea to sell the low, guys. If you ever see this, okay, this was literally what gave us, us and the group over there. And like I said, I'll be live streaming. There's going to be that straight up. If you ever come in and you have the 15-minute RSI oversold into open, guys, and then not too long later, you see a bullish divergence here print, do not expect it to keep falling off a cliff. This thing was pretty obvious it was going to start bouncing back, and then you put a 15-minute bullish engulfing candlestick, and that's when we personally got bullish on it and really started looking for a move here. And then, as we can see, you did just continue higher throughout the day. Once we filled that gap, I told them, hey, all right, we're not going to be looking for it to come back to the lows. I think the low is probably in. If we come all the way back up here, it just would kind of look like a monster at that point. And if you can somehow close it either there or higher, you're probably going higher into the next trading session. That's what we have in the after hours today. So, get bearish up here. Don't get bullish. But, I'm not sure on that next sell. But either way, we're looking for sellers from here back down to here around 550. So that is something you could be taking advantage of. 570, you short it down to 545, 550. That's a very clean move right there. All right, but please, guys, be taking longs. If you're catching these longs with me, please be taking them. All right, if you like, we got 100% on PLTR today. You got to be taking that. And I was saying, you can literally take off half of them and just ride risk free from that point. And then you're just, you let yourself trade in the zone. You don't have that, that thing just holding above your head, that stress. You don't need to have it. Okay, a lot of things moved crazy. I was sad to have sold my Nvidia calls, but at the end of the day, we ended up playing, we played some other things, did that. But now, guys, this thing's probably going to continue higher. This weekly candlestick is now making a whole lot more sense to me. This is what I was trying to catch the other day. And you got the big gap down, but as we could see, buyers liked what they saw. And now you're seeing an absolute massive move from today's low up to here. You're going to see a 10% move. That is like throughout the day and then the overnight session there. Absolutely insane. You now set this weekly candlestick up for, you're probably going to be getting into this area, which is at 116. All right. So, things are looking up. We're probably going to continue a little higher in the short term. So intraday tomorrow, guys, expect us to continue a little higher. We have the 200 daily moving averages. They're going to act as magnets. All right. Like straight up. They're right up here. This whole area, 485.84 up to 493.62, it's going to act as a magnet. Just expect it to come up here. And if it doesn't, it is what it is. If it starts breaking down, it is what it is. But now you can literally see we had the hourly bullish, the bearish divergences that we pointed out, just carving out over here. We had it fully play out today off the open. All right. 1 hour RSI completely reset, went into oversold territory, and now we're back up, which means now we can build out more divergences just like we took a few days to do it over here. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. All right. There's this guy I follow on Twitter. His name is, I think it's Cycles Fan. He follows me. I follow him. I like his technical analysis. He follows the cycles. And, he thinks there is a QQ/S&P 500 top. It was supposed to form today, but it could be late and form tomorrow. See, these are things, I like to keep in mind over here. Are they really going to change my personal technical analysis? No. All right. I think we're bullish until you get up into this area. And then you definitely should become a seller, or at least take off your longs and take off the risk. Okay. You could have risk on when the market's telling you to do so, and you get risk off when the market tells you to do so, or you start flipping your tone. All right. And if we get up into this area, you start seeing some 15-minute bearish divergences. Maybe we have an hourly bearish divergence sitting up here as we get up here. All right. Maybe it goes something like that. We get a nice, shooting star candlestick or some sort of signal up here that they're stepping in. All right. Then you can maybe take action off of that. But that's what I'm going to be looking for. You can see on the 4-hour time frame, this thing looks like a monster. This thing looks like, above 479.56. It's going to continue up to 485.84. It doesn't really have much in between. All right, so that's what I'm going to be personally be watching for. We went over the levels on QQQ. Let's just go over here on SPY, guys. On the upside, we just have the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level at 563. Above there, we have 567.42. And then in between 567.42 and 575.35, you better bet sellers are going to be stepping in. That is, we just are retracing most of the move down now. If anyone was stuck holding the bag, this is where everyone is going to deload their positions if they were holding the bag, and now they could sell, either close to break even right here. Like you could have been a buyer this whole time. You were underwater. Okay. This whole, literally the whole year, you were underwater. If you're a buyer, this is almost the whole year. You were under freaking water not too long ago. Now you're returning to, you could have bought any time over the last 6 months there. And now you're going to be returning back to break even. Okay. If you start approaching this area. So expect sellers to get in there. That's going to be acting as supply. And that's really all we were looking for. We were looking for you to get up into this area. The weekly setup we had over here suggested if we saw a dip to start off the week, we're looking for it to be bought up by the end of the week to produce that lower wick. It would just make a lot more sense than just falling off a cliff from there. But now, you got to be open to it. And I shared, if you're not already following the Twitter, I shared it's actually the pinned post right now, but those are my 3 paths. I think we're going to get one of those paths, or at least a very similar variation to those paths, over the next 1 to 2 years. So go check that out if you haven't already. Link is down below. Also, if you want to come trade with me, again, I will be live every day down below, just trading with you. But as far as levels goes, guys, just expect the sellers in that area. And then on the downside, you're watching 557.83, 555.44, 553.68. You don't really want to give up this area if you come back down to 553.68. That is where you would want to defend if you're going to test that tomorrow intraday, or you might be starting that sell a little earlier than I'm expecting. Okay. But so buyers, they put in exactly what you want to see here. All right. This was a key spot in between here and here. As we could see, they defended it. You didn't get down to the 0.618 fib. You just missed it. But, close enough over there. You had that 15-minute bullish divergence there at the low. And then you had the bullish engulfing candle tell you it was probably go time over there. And you're at least going to come back into this area, revert to the mean over here on the 15-minute time frame. All right, but you know, downside, just make sure you're defending 553.68. That's really all you got to focus on. It could come back and fill the gap. Could come a little lower to 555.44. But you know, for the time being, I'm gonna continue looking for that upside. I think we're going to be getting up here. All right, so that's what I have for you guys today. I will just point out over here, I think Nvidia is going higher. I gave you guys this one the other day. I know it did end up, it did this, okay? It came down today, but you did end up recovering the whole move, and now you're getting the exact move that I was looking for. It just looked like, you know, it was getting very tight here in between the moving averages, and, you know, it very much so looked like it was getting ready to have a pop and a squeeze. Well, as we saw, we had a big pullback before that squeeze, and now we're seeing that. You're going to gap up here. All right, just understand, guys, Microsoft monthly, massive monthly gap over here. Go back, all of existence. You're not really going to find something like it. For that reason, I think it's very likely going to get filled. All right, you had a big gap right over here. What happened before you fell off a cliff? You had a bounce that filled the gap. All right. And that, you know, I know it's not anything crazy like what we have right now. That's 4.7%, though. We only have a 6% gap going on. That is very doable, in my personal opinion. And on that, you know, on that pullback here, if we get that, it might present a buying opportunity. But I'm telling you right now, you should not just blindly be buying into this thing, because I do think it's so freaking likely that this is, and you should too. I'm explaining right now. I just showed you. Go back, whole existence. Really not going to find a gap like that left open on the monthly time frame. So yeah, just expect it to be filled. That's your golden tidbit for the video, guys. I do my best to give you guys so much free value. If you are enjoying the free value, please remember to leave a like. I try and scratch your back as much as possible. Please just remember to scratch my back. I know sometimes you could easily forget, but I do definitely put a good amount of time into this. And trying to, you know, help other people make money for absolutely no cost. And all I do ask for is if you could leave a like, I would very much so appreciate it. If you want more, you know, link will be down below. You can come trade with me, but I really do try and put out everything that someone would need to make money in this market continuously, just swinging, day trading, whatever it may be. I try and do that for free here on this channel. So I hope you guys are seeing that and receiving the value there. But yeah, don't be chasing the longs on this move up, guys. Don't. You're taking profit on this move up. Okay. So that's that. But as far as, you know, trade ideas go over here, PLTR, I do think this thing is going to continue up there. If you gap up big tomorrow, it's probably going to be filled before that earnings move. And that earnings move is going to be on Monday. So that means if we are gapping up here, probably by the end of the week, all right, or probably by the end of the week, or it has to happen Monday intraday, you're going to come back and fill this gap. All right, just again, just with the monthly gaps here, they don't usually get left behind. Since inception, you have no monthly gaps here on this chart. What would this be? A monthly gap. All right, like right over here, I think you had a slight one. You definitely came back to fill it. All right, so just expect these things, guys. Expect it. But this thing looks like a monster. It looks like it's probably going to take off on earnings. All right, next one that I think is about to take off on earnings tomorrow morning. All right. But again, keep in mind that whole monthly gap concept there. You have a little one going on over here. But if you have a massive one that just looks so out of the ordinary, it's very likely going to get filled. But yeah, look at this monthly chart over here on McDonald's. MCD over here, guys. So this is something I am long into tomorrow here. But if you are not long into this thing with me, just realize if you get no move off of this, if this thing doesn't immediately get that, you know, $5 to $10 gap up, premiums they are going to crush. They're definitely going to either stay the same or crush. And at that point, you get to play the setup that I'm presenting to you guys right now and have kept on your radar over here. All right. Yeah, without, you know, juiced up premiums for earnings. So if it stays down here, you can add whatever calls you want. They're probably going to take a dive a little bit, at least, especially the shorter term expirations there. Specifically on the May calls, you get a $10 move. You're about 100%. June calls, you get a $10 move. You're about 70 to 80%. And that's before earnings, but after earnings, those, you know, are probably good. Those premiums, they could change. I just think there is a chance, solid chance here that you are going to actually move up off of earnings here, and not pull back right away. And maybe you do leave a gap left open just like over here, but in the end, I think you're probably going to come back and maybe fill it not too far down the line. So you're taking profits into that move. If you see the breakout above 321.78 tomorrow, premiums will be crushed. Okay, like, you know, that's not a large enough move to make the premiums really move. All right, so and then you could play for that 326.32 move. But yeah, monthly break and retest off of, you know, very nice resistance here. Okay, 3 times in a row you got sellers stepping around here. You very clearly ended with the break and retest here, increasing volume on the monthly chart too. These last 2 consolidation months, hammer candlestick months, and then on the weekly we can also see that same exact, you know, base action right here. It's taking quite some time. And then on the daily we can also see, you know, it looks just like this. You pull back into the 21 EMA. All right, you're just continuing your bull flag. It's just like this, popped up. Just like this, popped up. Just realize MCD, I've been trading this for a long time. It has these little pops and it likes pulling back. So you were taking profits on that 1 to 2 day pop. It's usually only 1 to 2 days. Every single time I trade this thing, you get 1 to 2 big days. If you catch that one big day, please take the profits. I promise you only get a few of them on MCD. You can go back. I've been trading it for years. All right. You only get 1 or 2 days of those big pops, and then it's back to normal movement. Right here, you got the big day. You pull back a little bit. That's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm kind of talking about over here how you get these big moves and you pull back immediately. You give back the whole freaking move. You have these, you know, big day. You trade flat for 2 or 3 trading sessions, and then you have another one, and then boom, you get back the whole move. So just make sure you're getting your piece of pie when the piece of pie is presented to you. And there you go, guys. All right. Last one I'm going to point out is cost over here. Costco is, you know, just kind of consolidating around here. It looks like if you break above 1,995 is the level to pay attention to. Break above there could happen tomorrow. Clean shot over here to around 1,020. That is a trade idea for you into the end of the week. With that being said, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.